Captain Larry Bell with Texas Fishing Tips, and this is your weekly fishing report.
Well, as we have started in this new week, we're past all the cold weather, and all that being said is that from everything that's been posted that I've seen with my own eyes, talking to other guides that are out there, yes, we've lost some trout, we've lost a lot of bait fish, lost a few other fish along the way, hardheads, skipjacks, all those, but the far-reaching effects of what this cold front and this cold weather has done to the fisheries from San Antonio Bay all the way down to Baffin Bay will be yet to be determined, as we haven't seen the full effect of it just yet. I would think probably by the end of this week, the weekend coming up, we would, if there's more fish that have died that were there, would starting to float. So that's going to be one of the things for me personally this coming year, 2021. Anybody that books a trip with me, all of our trout that we catch will be released. We will not be keeping any trout unless it is a fish that dies trying to get a hook out or anything to that nature. So just our part to do as much as we can to help the fishery. This spring will be pretty critical, and hopefully the fish that are left behind, that will be a bunch of females that will be laying eggs, and that's a critical thing for our estuaries moving forward to help replenish. So those of you that like to fish recreationally, you're here on the weekends, you're here midday, midweek, whatever, if y'all will, and practice catch and release of the trout population just to help build it back up. Keep you some redfish, and that's fine, nothing wrong with that. Keep you some flounder, but pay attention to the trout, and hopefully that we can get our population back sooner than later. With all that said, the last week's fishing was pretty difficult and not as many fish on the water, but again, not being able to fish as much last week because of the weather. These areas right here on San Antonio Bay is going to be one, again, that you're going to want to target. You're going to be looking for bait, which is pretty scarce. We've seen a lot of it washed up, but there is still bait available. There's still bait hanging in there as this water is warmed back up. It'll start be flipping up in the shorelines, shallower water. That's where it'll be, and you'll find those areas adjacent to a deep gut. That would be areas that I would target. Throw your soft dines, throw your corkies, throw your plastics, whatever flavor that you like. I'm a down south person, so I'm throwing lots of down south, a darker version. If you have a different flavor or a different company that you like to throw, that's fine. Just throw the darker flavor of it, because that's going to be your most successful thing. These areas around here, this deeper drop here off of Swan Lake shoreline back here in Copano, this is the area that you're going to want to target. You got this shallower water that warms up pretty quick with the good sunlight that we have. We're starting that again with that warming trend that we have. You'll find some bait that's working up in these areas here. That's going to be still going to be your key things, is what you're wanting to do to locate fish. We're going to have to probably work a little bit harder, work a little longer to locate what you need to find. But when you find these areas like this, that's got shallow water, got shallow mud, some sand, that sand will superheat during the daylight hours, and you'll find that bait starts working around that, and therefore that'll bring in the game fish. So if you'll follow those areas there, look for those areas that's got a little bit of bait fish that's working in it, more than likely you will locate some fish at some point. Now you may have to spend a little more time locating in these areas, because again, we took a pretty good hit with all this cold weather that we had the past week. So you're just going to have to take your time with it and really work your artificials. Work deep first, then shallow later. Work your down souths or whatever flavor that you like. Your soft dines, smaller versions with a high pressure in place. You can still throw your corkies. You can throw the Corky Devil, throw the floater, the sinker, all the above. Throw everything that you got in there. Throw their Marker 54 shrimp and the mullet run as well. These are all going to be things that you're going to be wanting to throw in here to locate what fish are wanting and when they're going to start to feed. So these would be areas that you'd want to target for your trout, and your redfish are going to be scattered out in this area as well. All these areas from Paul's Mott all the way up here to Jaybird, all the way back down to Spalding, all these areas that are along here, you'll see backlay drains that come out into the bay system. Those are going to be the areas that you're really going to want to target, especially the next few days coming into the weekend. Those areas will be the area that most likely are going to hold some fish for you. The trout population took a pretty good hit, and we're going to have to continue to work to help revive that and recover that going into the springtime and summer as well. But just remember, if you're catching these trout, let these things go this year. 2021 is going to be a catch and release year for trout. It should be anyway, and hopefully more people will get involved with that. The redfish population didn't take as much of a hit as far as we know right now, but again, the next few days will be a telltale sign for us. But continue to work in these areas here, work out shallow, as we've had our water levels have dropped back out some. These areas out in front of these drain mouths will be critical areas for you to work. Look for some bait that'll be working in here, and there is bait that's working, even though we have lost some. There's still bait in the system, and we've got the springtime push. When that comes around, that flood of bait coming up from the south will help inundate our base systems whenever that takes place, but we're still probably a month away from that. But there is bait available. It's in here. It's working. You're just going to have to take your time, work in these areas. You'll find some fish, but it's going to take some patience, and you're really going to have to hone your game in from the artificial standpoint all around these areas here. Don't be, like I say, again, be patient with it. Take your time with it. You'll find fish, but it's just going to be a little bit slower clip.
Thanks for watching. I'm Captain Larry Bell.